Right, well, let's go to Dan Zirker, who's in the studio with me, to discuss where we're at with our the results as they come in. Dan, you've been doing some number crunching there. Let's talk about path to victory for either contender. Talk us through what they need.
Okay, Lisa. Looking at, once again, at Biden, trying to be as feasible as possible, if he were to take Maine, in which he's leading, Nevada, which he's expected to lead, Arizona, which appears to be going in his favor, and then Wisconsin and Michigan, which are still unknown, that would be a total of 41 votes. And if we threw in North Carolina's 15, he would have 56 votes, which would put him over the 270.
Right, but those are some critical, highly contested Rust Belt states, so not an easy ask.
Not an easy ask.
So when you look at the other guy, the incumbent, President Trump, you've been crunching his numbers too.
He has a real basic path to victory, with Wisconsin's 10 votes, Pennsylvania's 20 votes, Georgia's 16 votes, Michigan's 10 votes. He would have 59. That would put him over the 270, or put him right at 270.
So less complicated for Donald Trump, but it doesn't mean that the states you're eyeing up are easier to win. So as we look at this map here, as it's unfolded during the course of the evening, does it look vastly different from what you had and punters had imagined this election night would deliver?
It's tremendously different.
How so, Dan?
Well, a lot of the red states were projected fairly confidently by 538, but by other news media as well, as going blue. So they have not gone blue, and they've not even come close to going blue. So this is a real surprise.
So we're actually looking, sorry to interrupt, we're actually looking at only one state having turned to Joe Biden, which is Arizona at this point, correct?
Yeah. Only one since the last election has gone. It looks like it's going to go Democratic.
Flipping allegiances.
We can't even be sure that it will flip. The diversity of the United States is striking here. Lots of different regions. Most of the different regions have different reasons for the way in which they've gone, and it's very hard to see that a Trump strategy is responsible for this, except perhaps for the economy. I'm concerned mostly about the structure and health of institutions after something this divisive. It isn't that elections shouldn't be won, but to bring a full-force power play into effect, which is further emphasized by the tweets that President Trump issued tonight.
Is that what you see that as?
I see it as a use of power over responsible democratic elections. You know, in the Scandinavian countries, oftentimes they rule with a minority government, with the other parties saying, yes, you should rule because it's your turn. There's no hint of it, that kind of politeness and non-power politics.
Or civility is a word you've used quite a bit tonight.
Civility is really the word. Now, the politics of this really get back to what is sometimes called political realism, and that can also be called power politics, in which you do whatever it takes to gain power. This is an old lesson from Machiavelli, who said that the prince should go all out to win power, because the prince cannot do good unless the prince is in power. So all the moral scruples are thrown out the window. You have to win. That isn't the way democracies work. Now, Machiavelli had lived in a republic, the Republic of Florence, that was taken over by a dictator, the Medici, Lorenzo Medici. But, you know, are we in a situation here where power politics is appropriate? And I get back to the health and validity of institutions. How do we go on after this if the strongest exercise of power wins control?
At the same time, it is the democratic voice of the people of America in casting their votes that will determine this. So it brings us perhaps back to the candidates here. And I'm wondering if the Democrats, given a lot of people predicted a landslide flipping to the Democrats, did they go with the wrong guy in Joe Biden?
Well, he's a humane, rather gentle sort of person. In a power politics situation, that might be just the wrong guy. But should we be contesting in a power politics way? I mean, Al Gore stepped down as a potentially leading candidate in 2000 because he was afraid that there would be violence. He was afraid that the institutions would be damaged. I don't know that it's appropriate to talk about democracy as simply majority rules. Democracy also includes a concern for human rights. And human rights in this case are at stake. The rights, for instance, of the elderly to be treated carefully and considerately as regards the pandemic.